Hi guys, I am Ibigandscary and I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time with iBleedOrange in the bottom right corner playing the blue Zerg. Top left, red Terran is TaCollision. They are on the map Ohana, which features a pretty narrow ramp leading down straight to the natural, and then a larger ramp leading down to the main common ground. A third sits kind of exposed, but with some destructible rocks in the way to cut those that ramp open. Kind of makes it so that the path leading from the natural to the third isn't as big of an obstacle. TaCollision evidently inquiring if iBleedOrange is a fan of a Euro tournament. I guess the soccer tournament going on. I don't really know. I'm an American. I don't play football, soccer, whatever they want to call it. Evidently, these two guys play StarCraft, though, and they play StarCraft a lot. They are in Masters, Mid-Masters, and iBleedOrange posted this on Reddit, which means that he's pretty proud of the game. Happy with what he put forth. Doesn't mean he won, doesn't mean he lost, just means that he's happy with his mechanics. So we're going to get to see exactly what made him proud. TaCollision throwing down his first racks while sending out an SCV as a scout. Both probes pass each other in the night, neither of them grabbing that watchtower to see that the other one's heading up. It looks like iBleedOrange is saving up for a expansion just on the lower ground. He's going to hit that 300 minerals, come down here, and have his drone right into position. TaCollision misses that timing for the deny. Just a little bit, couple seconds behind. The map's pretty big, so his SCV was going to have a hard time getting there, even if he intended to deny that expansion. At the same time, iBleedOrange has gotten his drone up to the wall, but TaCollision managed to wall off with a supply depot before he could get in. He's going to use that drone just to provide some annoying damage. At the same time, he pulls off a drone off of his mineral line to punish the SCV for any scouting being done. The spawning pool comes down. It's going to finish at about the same time the other hatchery is. It's going to be interesting to see if Orange decides to throw out a couple of Zerglings once it finishes, or if he's going to save up for the double queens in both expansions. A Marine kills the drone that was finishing off the scouting at the front door. Didn't really accomplish anything besides seeing that a Marine was built from a barracks, which is not exactly dumbfounding, but it's useful to know. This SCV is stuck around too long in the base, gets taken down, and we can see that TaCollision decides to build a CC down at his natural with only 3 Marines to defend it. No extra bunkers on the way, but we do see some gas. iBleedOrange decides to go for the double queen, 1 at each hatchery. This makes it pretty easy for him to time up his larva injects. That way he only needs to go back to the base once every however many seconds to get those larva injects in. It helps with the macro. It's definitely a good play. It's one of the small things that can just really help you out in the long run. We can see that no gas has been grabbed up to this point for iBleedOrange. He finally grabs that expo. He's going to get 100 gas necessary for Zergling speed, maybe cut down the rush distance between the two bases. At the same time, we can see the TaCollision's been mining off of his gas for a little bit. Definitely not a super long time, but he's going to start producing more heavy tech structures. This factory goes down. I wouldn't be surprised to see this barracks reposition to get an add-on out for the factory to start taking advantage of it. It depends on what add-on it is that will decide the role that this factory is going to play. A reactor means that we get some early Hellions coming out of TaCollision, some early pressure. Hellions, super fast, are going to be an issue for iBleedOrange. One that he's decided to spit out a spine crawler to help fight. Zergling's not exactly the best choice to deal with Hellions, but a spine crawler definitely is. It takes minimal damage from their attacks, and it can do significant damage to a Hellion. The Queen's going to go ahead and connect the two bases, so even if there is a Hellion run by, the Queens will be able to reposition quickly to deal with that, and we can see that there's 3 Queens out right now. Another excellent play for dealing with Hellions is a Roach Warren, which we can see one's going up right now. Roaches, again, take minimal damage from a Hellion attack, and with 3 barracks coming down and a tech lev on one, we can see that Collision is gearing up for a more offensive position. 4 Hellions on the way. 4 Hellions is a magic number. They can one-shot probes. I'm pretty sure 3 can one-shot probes, but with 4 you can even... It's a little bit more graceful. You don't have to worry about 1 Hellion being out of position, 1 Hellion being stuck behind something. With 4 you can deal more damage quickly, and with that reactor it doesn't affect the timing of those units coming out. So it's pretty common and it's very effective. The first 2 Hellions come up, take that Xel'Naga watchtower. This queen's not close enough to see them, but it looks like they're going to reveal themselves. This queen, for added range, is capable of doing some damage to the Hellions while taking damage itself. It shouldn't rush out and expose itself off its creep because it loses so much speed. But if these roaches positioned here and these Zerglings on creep, they're going to be able to get us around and take down those Hellions, minimize the amount of damage coming out of it. You can see that a starport is being built off the reactor. It looks like Collision is aware that his harassment is not going to be 100% effective. At the same time, we can see some Zerglings come up here, spawn into some Banelings, and the roaches continue to do damage to the Hellions. Hellions really not the best unit to deal damage to the roaches. I can't really help for much more than a couple of annoying bites. 2 bunkers. It looks like Collision's aware of the incoming pressure from those roaches. These Zerglings will come in, take some of the damage while these Banelings get into position. No Baneling speed mean that a couple of them go down before they get to that wall, but they succeed in busting that bunker, and those bunkers aren't up yet, but the handful of Zerglings left isn't enough to break down that wall. Both bunkers go up, and the units take cover. With the Hellions arriving in front of the roaches, this pressure is going to have to fall back. He does know that the third's not down yet, and it looks like a third is being prepared to be taken. So Bleeding Orange getting more comfortable with his economic lead. We can see a macro hatch coming down as he just prepares to spread creep all over the map, deny that third, and sit back and wait for Collision to starve. At the same time, Collision is beginning to re-macro, get his units out 2 at a time for the medevacs, which is a good play. The tech lab on the factory, he's not ready to go ahead and mass produce factories, siege tanks off the factories, as he hasn't grabbed that gas. I'm going to see more Marines out of him, and then once he's got a heavy ground force, we might see a couple of drops here and there, but probably not siege tanks until he's grabbed another expansion. Maybe a missed rally point for all of these overlords coming out, exposing themselves in the middle of the field. Bleed Orange knows that there's a lot of Marines here, and that those Marines are going to make short work of these. It's possible that he was going to try to position them up on high ground and get some excellent map vision, but they're so exposed they're going to go down pretty quickly. One of them might make it out with that buff. Not a enormous loss. We can see that both players are floating a substantial amount of money that they can use to re-macro. 4 overlords are going to pop out for Bleed Orange in just a couple of seconds. He's not going to be supply blocked for long. It's still a loss. It's still a little bit of resources lost, but nothing that he can't bounce back from. Hellions pushing in, killing some creep, pushing back some Zerglings, but the roaches will push forward. At the same time, some supporting units coming up from a split level high ground and low ground, but the Zerglings come in, surround the Marines in their exposed position. They go down. There wasn't a hot pickup from the medevacs, which would have really saved them, so this attack sputters out and fails pretty quickly. It was a nice push. The medevacs could have picked them up and could have dropped off that entire army behind enemy lines, and then the Hellions could have kept Bleed Orange distracted, but as things were, that very aggressive front door push really proved to be ineffective. Command center being built, pretty standard. It'll be morphed up into an orbital to supplement the natural, or it'll be used to push out and take that third. Either way, expect those destructible rocks to be taken out sooner or later so that that third can be taken out. You can see the factory's beginning to crank out siege tanks. That siege tech will start undoubtedly soon. 2 evolution chambers, beginning to upgrade the ground forces as we see an infestor pit. upgrades will become increasingly more important as time goes on. One medevac loaded up with 3 Marines and 2 Marauders. It's going to do some damage. Up here we see an Overlord positioned to deny the 3rd. Spewing creep already. The drop commences. Spinecrawler not quite finished, but the army is excellently positioned to deny this pressure. Doesn't look like anything was lost from the drop except for this single Marine and a couple of hit points, but that medevac can repair him quickly. The Queens move to intercept. The drop repositions. It's going to try to drop behind this mineral line, but the Zerglings are already there, already going to deny that pressure. Looks like some Marines reposition to take out that Overlord. At the same time, this drop goes down as the medevac falls to the multitude of Queens in the area. 4th, fully saturated. Spore crawlers, spine crawlers going into position. More of them need to be positioned around the main, as the majority of the tech structures are all right here. One well-placed drop will really crush it. You can see that a 5th is being prepared to grab by iBleedOrange as he is allowing that 3rd to go up. It's so exposed right now. Yeah, the majority of the army is right here, but you can see that siege tech's not finished, and these destructible rocks aren't down, so any reinforcements really are going to be exposed. If iBleedOrange just morphed all these into banelings and pushed, he could destroy everything here, including that command center, in no time. But he's playing a little bit more passively, content to macro up off of his multitude of bases. Maybe gonna grab this one too before he pushes out as these upgrades are coming. We can see 7 infestors are getting ready to pop. Looks like the upgrade, the pathogen glands, is done also, so all of them are ready to fungal growth, which is going to be incredibly devastating to this heavy bio ball. Siege tanks will be effective once the siege mode kicks in. We can see a spire and a lair, or a hive, excuse me, being created. Spire is going to be a good choice as corruptors and broodlords, increasingly as we approach the late game, will really drive the Zerg army later on. Expect to see a tech switch after this battle, probably, when the Zerglings and the infestors really hit their stride. Take this down, and then maybe tech switch over to broodlord, corruptor. Quite an impressive infrastructure we see from TaCollision. He's got really just an impressive amount of Marines coming out of those reactors. His ability to macro up once this combat, once the battle that's coming to a head comes to a head. It looks like I missed a drop over here. Medevac throwing a couple of units into the wind. Some spine crawlers getting positioned. The 2 Queens here is probably going to have no problem holding off these units, especially if you can see in the minivac the army's coming in to defend them. Excellent transfuse going down on that Queen. Again, pushing back that drop. A single medevac's probably not going to do enough damage. You can see up here another medevac's coming in, but it's only half full. No Queen at this expansion to defend it, but even drones won't have a problem dealing with 3 Marines. The drops continuing in multiple areas. iBleedOrange doesn't really want to split up his army. It looks like he's answering with pure infestors here, which again will be enough to deal with that. Another drop going into the main expansion as the Spire morphs into Greater Spire. 3 Queens and 1,000,000 Zerglings is going to be enough to clear this up, especially as the Queens have taken out the medevac almost down to 0 health. If it had loaded up again, it would have lost everything. TaCollision decides to push out, having done enough, and trying to take the 4th at the same time, pushing in one direction, laying down an expansion in the other. Level 3 ground, dual upgrades going for him. We see that 1/1 is only there for Terran, so iBleedOrange definitely is in a more comfortable position. The Zerglings rush in, get right up on top of the siege line. All the sieges were really positioned for a beautiful fungal, which is going down on the Marines and denying them the ability to run away from the Banelings, which just absolutely demolished that army. See, 97 to 71, something that a Terran army only on 3 bases, maybe 4 if you count it. It's not really mining anything. You don't want to see that. Zerg has the ability to remacro quickly. That's what they're known for, and for Terran to be doing well, it really needs to be ahead of that resources lost. But again, we looked at that infrastructure already, and the ability to create hundreds of Marines at one time is really helping Collision to stay in this game. He's already got 3 siege tanks, and we can see 2 more are on the way. Medevac going around looking for scouting, but with 10 corruptors on the field already. And there they go, morphing into broodlords. We can see that iBleedOrange is beginning to tech into that late game army composition of the broodling infester, I guess. iBleedOrange is preparing to take his 6th expand, which is a good idea as the natural and the main are closely becoming mined out. A couple of Marines rush in, stemmed, are going to do some damage to this expansion as the on the opposite side another drop goes down, but they meet a wall of crawl, so they get pushed back. Zerglings come in and save this expansion without allowing the hatchery to go down, even though it had only a couple of hit points left. I do not see any. I see 1 corruptor, which is not enough to deal with all the Vikings that Collision's already built. iBleedOrange is going to have to rely on chained fungals to take them down, but you can just see the Vikings wailing away with it. There goes 1 fungal on the group. You need a couple more to take them down completely. The corruptor's not really getting in the game, and we see no more on the production pad right now. You see 74 Zerglings coming, hoping to finish off the ground army, which I admit is looking rather ragtag. The 3 remaining broodlords have to get pushed back. Plenty of energy left on the infestors. They could do 1 more fungal, pop them down, but they don't want to expose themselves to all the Marines from 1 heavy stem. They could take them all out. Looks like both drops got sorted out in the interim of that battle. You can see that Collision is almost completely mined out on both of his bases too. He's preparing to take a very exposed and risky 6th expansion. Is that 6th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th expansion. 5th expand just to keep up, but it's so exposed and it's so far away from his units. Even this Zergling ball is going to be able to take them out. It looks like iBleedOrange decides to fall back on the Zergling infestor composition rather than recommit to the broodlords. He's building a couple more, but it's not going to be enough to overpower that entire army. Sending 4 off to do some significant damage over here. You can see that he's intending to spawn a lot of infestors despite the planetary. Some SCVs going out to get sacrificed. This army in position to deal some damage to the exposed expansion, but this one's saturated. This is where the real damage is going to be done. Hundreds, not hundreds, I'm exaggerating. Several infested Terrans pop out. Unfortunately, the SCVs are pretty quick off the draw, decide to repair the planetary fortress, and any damage that the infested Terran are doing gets quickly mitigated. SCVs go in, sacrificing themselves on the wall of crawl just to free up some supply. The infested Terran don't really succeed in doing too much damage to the planetary fortress, but they do pull all of those SCVs off the line, not really allowing them to mine. Zerglings come in to finish the job. There's plenty of Zerglings here to do it, especially as they seem to be content to deal with the SCVs in the area at the same time as dealing with the planetary. Collision using that moment as his chance to push on some well-placed fungals, deny the movement of the siege tanks as they rush on ahead. The Air Force leaves them behind. So these units are a bit more exposed. Marines holding their ground as the Air Force pulls back and the siege tank line gets into position. You can see a couple of Marines and a couple of tanks push down on the opposite side to pressure. It looks like iBleedOrange wants to deal with the main army first. Zerglings rush in with a couple of ultras and well-placed fungals up on the high ground, pinning that Air Force into place. And with only 2 broodlords, those Vikings really don't help much. Tanks in position but not sieged, and the Marines are doing some significant damage to the already weakened hatchery. It looks like these Vikings are going to get cleared up with some infested Terran, and this expansion is looking incredibly exposed. If this expansion goes down, then it looks like Collision's only on 1 mining base, fully mining base, and iBleedOrange is in a fantastic position to deal with that right now. 3 ultras, plenty of infestors, and a lot of Zerglings equals destroyed planetary fortress. So that fortress is going to go down. Looks like Collision's still got a good amount of money left over to build. He's building some extra barracks over here with some orbitals, but even this base is looking rather mined out. Was forced to engage the planetary at the same time as this this army. Those siege tanks are doing significant damage to the ultras, dealing with all the Zerglings. iBleedOrange has plenty of energy left over on these infestors. He's going to spit out plenty of infested Terran if he wants to. Maybe he's afraid of getting scanned and have all that gas blown out of the sky, so he pulls back, allows his infestors to meet up with the expendable ground army. I mean, you can see that iBleedOrange has got twice as much mineral income, twice as much gas income as Collision. He's in a great position. He's going to just keep macroing, keep throwing units in, and as long as he continues to deny the expansions, then he's definitely got this game in the bag. He pushes in one more time, this time deciding to push up into the third rather than trying to batter down the front door. Looks like that Ultralisk didn't get the memo. Infestors staying well protected away from the planetary fortress as the Ultralisks decide to take the damage. Some chain fungals going down on the SCVs, making sure that those workers die. Collision, desperate for minerals, decides to pretty much lose an orbital command just for a couple of rounds off of some mules, but it looks like iBleedOrange is more content to go on for the kill, pushing in with his main army into the natural expand, and is undoubtedly going to move up into the main base and deal some damage to that infrastructure. 40 supply to 190. This was an excellent game. Both players did really well, but in the end, iBleedOrange took it just by staying one base ahead of the Terran the entire time and remacroing like crazy. You can just see that the creation of units never stopped, and he constantly moved his spawn points farther and farther afield until he just battered down the base. Real killing moments were whenever he denied both of those expansions and also kept his expansions up despite the heavy Terran pressure. Yeah, he lost this one, but he had so many bases left to mine from that he just grabbed it again and kept the pressure up on the front door. This was a great game. Hats off to iBleedOrange and to Collision. It was a good game. I am Ibigandscary. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you around. Bye.